Innkeepers. I also decided to just, I think I got on a Ty West kick at some point.
Yeah, it was like a year or so ago that we were going through and watching everything that Ty West did, basically.
Yeah. I think you told me first about, was it VHS? You were like, watch VHS.
Yeah.
And so I watched that, and I was like, okay. And then Ty West directs that. So then I just went through and I was like, oh, what's Ty West? What does he do? And then I watched House of the Devil, and then Innkeepers was on Netflix at that time. It's not anymore. But
it is on Hulu.
It's on Hulu?
Yes,
okay.
It's on Hulu.
I didn't realize that. So then I watched Innkeepers, and I ended up enjoying myself because it's just one of those when you're in a kick and you're just like, oh, I just want to watch this. It's kind of like I'm not expecting another Roman Polanski film or something. So
yeah, I think Ty West is really good in that he does different types of movies.
Yeah.
Like it's not, he doesn't do like high budget. He doesn't do like the big AAA production type of stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't use a lot of the like the tropes from the horror genre. He's
right.
kind of like a more old school horror writer, producer, whatever. He does everything. He writes, directs, and produces them all, I believe.
And he's always very good with the technical elements of his film. Even though they're all low budget, you always get a sense like, oh, it always looks right. It always feels right. It always plays out right. And like you said, he also has good diversity in his films. You're not watching one film and like, this is another Ty West film.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as all the rest of them.
Yeah, it's never like that. And I think they're all like totally different from one another. So yeah, props to him. I also don't think he uses any really stupid conventions that a lot of horror directors use that get really annoying in movies. He tends not to rely on those. So yeah, it's definitely very worth a watch and worth a discussion for us. I think.
Yeah, basically everything that Ty West does is at least worth a watch.
Yeah, if Ty West's name on it, I'm probably gonna have a look, see what's going on. The Yankee Peddler Inn is closing down permanently.
In its last 2 days of operation, the hotel's remaining two innkeepers, Claire and Luke, are determined to discover if the hotel's owner's boast of its haunting is indeed true.
Innkeepers, story elements. How do you feel about it?
I like the Innkeepers a fair bit. The story is fairly cliche, I guess. It's a big old haunted grand hotel, supposedly haunted, and it's closing down. They don't really get into why it's closing down. I guess just a lack of business and interest in the hotel, and I think it's implied that it's going to be leveled as well.
I believe so, yeah.
So it's not going to be there anymore. The two innkeepers they're staying there for the last weekend. It's the last weekend of operation. They've got like two people staying in the hotel, so they're just staying there. They're hanging out, and they do like paranormal. They're like amateur paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cliche, but I think it's pretty well done.
Yeah. It's got the elements that you expect, but it plays them out pretty well. That guy, the guy Luke, right?
Yeah,
he's the one that manages a website.
Yeah, he's got like a paranormal investigation, like haunted house type of website.
And they kind of boast that the Yankee Peddler is haunted as well.
Yeah.
So they're kind of determined to prove that. Like, oh, we're gonna figure out what happened to this girl who hung herself in the hotel and all this stuff.
Yeah. There's some story about a woman that hung herself after her new husband like left her there at the hotel or something.
Yeah, that's it. And anytime you do big haunted hotel thing, you're gonna fall under the radar of The Shining. You know, the Overlook Hotel. That's kind of like the main archetype of that whole thing, the haunted hotel. So I felt like, okay, we have that archetype here. I recognize it. But then Ty West I never likened that movie to The Shining. I felt like he did a pretty good job of blazing his own trail within that genre.
Yeah.
And for the most part, he had an interesting progression of tone for the script and how that plot progressed, because it was kind of it's lighthearted at the beginning, kind of silly, and you're just watching the interaction between Claire and Luke, and they're kind of funny with each other. They're pulling pranks on each other and making jokes.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, this is kind of cool. And if you're not like just pissed off because you're not seeing horror movie stuff from beginning to end, if that's what you're expecting, you're not going to get it. But if you just watch it kind of like haphazard, like, and just for whatever it is, just watch it, you'll probably enjoy it because the character interaction is good.
Yeah. And that's the thing about that I've noticed from Ty West movies is he likes the slow burn.
Yeah.
Like his movies typically aren't like non-stop weird stuff happening and there's stuff flying around, there's people getting cut up and stuff. It's a really slow burn. There's a lengthy introduction to the characters and their interactions with each other and the people around. By the time that stuff actually starts to happen, you've gone through all the stuff with Claire and Luke, and they've been there for like a day or whatever, and you see like the thing that they do where they run back and try to hit the bell on the counter.
Yeah.
And you get introduced to Claire's awkward interactions that she has with everyone,
right,
except for Luke, I guess, because she has
because he's just as awkward.
Yeah. So they get together, they get along together fine because they're both awkward. But she has awkward interactions with the guests, the coffee shop girl. There's a weird thing that going on there. There's an old TV actress or movie actress that's staying there, and she has really weird, awkward interactions with her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get all of this stuff, and then after all of that, then we get into
the horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost akin to the old Stephen King technique. The Shining was a slow burn book. Like Jack Torrance is gradually becoming more and more insane over the course of this entire book.
Yeah.
There's lots of like, it's snowing, he's repairing stuff, he's talking to Danny. There's all kinds of slow burn, like very like minute things happening that's building up to a really big thing. So I think Ty West has taken that technique, and in this particular film, I think he takes it to another level because it's funny through most of the beginning part of the film.
Yeah, it's really light at the beginning, and he's also condensing his slow burn into a much smaller period of time than what The Shining took place over, because this is taking place over a weekend, whereas The Shining, I believe, takes place over
3 months. Probably.
Yeah, it takes place over the course of a winter, basically.
Right. Yeah, and my argument is probably that it makes the ending stuff, the horror stuff, it makes it even more terrifying whenever you actually have a rapport with those characters. Because you followed them, you kind of grew to like them in a way, or you at least grew to know them, because you know how Claire's awkward, you know how Luke's awkward but funny and pranksterish, and you get to play out kind of their lives for a little bit. And at some point, when I was watching it, I wasn't just like every minute like, oh, I'll get to the horror stuff. I was just watching it. So at some point, I even forgot that I was watching a horror film. I thought I was watching just some movie, like some lighthearted comedy or something. I was like, so whenever this stuff happens, like, oh.
Yeah, and I felt like, because we talked about The House of the Devil.
Yeah.
And I felt like this slow burn was done better than The House of the Devil, because you weren't getting frustrated with there's just nothing going on, because there's two people plus the hotel guests, that their interactions with people, and it's not just somebody that's bebopping through the house by herself.
Right.
So you do get that sense of getting to know the characters and connecting with them, and it's not like something, as much as I love the Friday the 13th movies, it's not introduce a character, they're going to do something that is blatantly just to make you hate that character, and then Jason's going to come in and cut his head off.
Right. Because that's a completely different horror movie convention. We're supposed to basically be rooting for Jason. You know? Whenever you have those slasher flicks, we're rooting for the slasher because the teenage kids are irresponsible, they're immature, they're impure.
Yeah.
All these things are doing drugs. They're misbehaving. Of course, you want a slasher to go in there, cut their heads off.
Yeah.
But this is the other side of it, where it's like if you want to legitimately be scared in a movie, you're not going to want to try to get your audience to identify with someone they're going to hate, because you're not going to be scared. Whenever the stuff starts happening, you're going to be like, yeah, I hope that guy, I hope that ghost ripped that guy's nuts off, or whatever it is. So
yeah, and you do come to like the characters. The characters are awkward but likable characters.
Yeah, totally. Really, my only problem with the story elements was the ending, the very ending. I wasn't really sure what the fuck was supposed to be going on there. Like, I mean, I get what happens, but it just seemed like it was just like suddenly like, okay, we're done.
Now it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
It did end very abruptly.
Yeah. And there was no additional explanation. There was no epilogue to it at all. It was just like, meh, and then just really brief scene at the end, and then that.
Yeah.
And you just felt like I've been invested in these characters and everything going on, like throughout this whole film. You spent like the majority of the film getting me invested in these people, and then you had this amount of horror, this little bit amount of horror going on here at the end that was good, and then you just cut it off. So then I felt like, motherfucker. All right, story elements. We have 6 points altogether that we can give to story elements. And how do you feel like it should be rated?
I feel like it should be either 4.5 to 5 range for just the minute things. It's probably worth a point to a point and a half deduction.
Yeah. It wasn't the most creative thing I've ever seen. It wasn't the most unique plot I've ever seen. I feel like it was a conventional plot that was just performed well.
Yeah.
And so it's not a 6, and the ending to me, I'm willing to subtract a whole point, if not more, because I wasn't super happy with how it just abruptly ended. So I feel like a 4.5 is probably a pretty good place for it to be.
Yeah, so that works.
All right. 4.5. Pretty good.
One thing to say specifically about that is building the atmosphere in it. When they go down to the basement and it's their last night there, and they're getting drunk, and they're like, we gotta go get something, we gotta finally document something happening in this place, and they go down in the basement to do their EVP and stuff, and they're sitting on the basement floor, and they don't even show anything other than the two characters, Claire and Luke, sitting on the floor. Yeah. They don't, but she's looking and she's telling Luke, it's behind you, and they don't show anything, and he looks terrified, and then he leaves.
Yeah,
that was good. That was good atmosphere, that was good tension, and nothing had to jump out. You didn't even have to see what she was talking about.
Exactly. I love that, actually. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of my favorite techniques in horror films, is you don't have to show us what the it's supposed to be. At least you don't have to always show it to us, and you certainly don't have to show it to us from the beginning.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like, the monster comes out right at the beginning. Back in the day, it used to be like the build-up was to when you see the monster, or when you see the ghost, or whatever it was that was happening. In Rosemary's Baby, the old Polanski films, it was like she goes into the new apartment, and she's like, why is this door blocked up? She doesn't have to show anything else. It's just like, then your mind starts thinking, why is that door blocked up? And because of the atmosphere, you start you start creating your own shit, and then you think, if I was in that house, I might be a little creeped out if that door was blocked up for some reason that's not explained. And people are like, why is that? That's weird. So yeah, if she's just like, it's right there, and we never see it, that's worse for us.
Yeah.
Because whatever we visualize in our own head is probably worse than whatever effect the director is going to come up with. Yeah.
And we can't see it, and Luke couldn't see it. And she seemed pretty calm about it, but it was pretty clear that it was a terrifying situation.
Yeah. And furthermore, later in the film, when she's going down the corridor in the basement, and she looks back, and the old man tenant is in the corridor, and he's like it's not a jump scare. It's very clearly an orchestrated scene where she looks back. You're wait, it's coming. So he's building that tension by using meters and beats to get us there.
Yeah.
But it's not like boom all of a sudden. It's just like she looks back and you see an image. The image. I wouldn't want to see that image.
No,
I wouldn't want to look down my hallway and be like, no, So he's really good at that. There are other films that he's done that I'm sure we'll get to eventually. That it's just like a glance of a scene or just something that's slightly obscured. You can't see the whole thing. He just presents it to you like almost like you would in real life. You wouldn't see everything going on in the dark.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be a sound cue that would alert you to the hooded figure being pressed up against your window.
Yeah. So, yeah, all those things are great. I think, like, when Ty West does a film, you can almost always count on the direction and production to be good.
Yeah. It's subtle.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the best way to handle horror films. That's a scarier way to do it.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like a 2 out of 2 is warranted?
Yeah.
All right, 2 out of 2. Ty West. Good job, buddy. Thespian competence. How'd you feel about the actors?
I'm always a little bit on. I don't know about the acting, but I felt like the two main characters, Claire and Luke. I felt like the actor and the actress that played them. I thought it was very good because, especially going back to Claire's awkward encounters with people. It's not easy to make your conversations with somebody seem awkward.
Yeah.
So and she has all these awkward encounters, and she looks like, especially like whenever she's in the room with the actress, she looks uncomfortable. Like she kind of looks like she's fawning over this person, but she's kind of like doing that kind of stuff. Like she doesn't really know what to do. And it's like, why are you still in there? Why are you talking to this? She's in a towel sitting on the bed. Like, what are you waiting for?
I don't know if I'm convinced, and I guess this is good. This is all a good thing, because I wasn't drawn out of the movie by the acting. I was drawn into the movie by the acting. I think that's what acting is supposed to do. It's supposed to draw you in, not pull you out and be like, oh, these actors are terrible, or oh, the chemistry's bad. I felt like Claire was supposed to be awkward.
Yeah.
I felt like Luke was supposed to be awkward. And that might actually be another handshake for direction and production, because I have a feeling, like in a lot of the film, that Ty West has a good leadership scope on his film. So he's probably directly involved with those actors and giving them very, very concrete input on how they can portray themselves in that film to make it work the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So, but for the actors, I would say that even if I'm not convinced that they're all, Shakespearean actors or something like that, they drew me in, so they did their job.
Yeah, and going back to the scene with them in the basement, like the look on Luke's face, like his expression, he looks like he's absolutely terrified to be there. So I felt like at least to look to that scene, like I thought that was really good because he looked absolutely petrified.
I agree. So how do you feel score-wise for Thespian competence?
I think it deserves
1.
Yeah, no deductions. I don't think any deductions are warranted.
It didn't do anything that pulled me out of the film. It did what it was supposed to do. And I think we said before that we don't really deduct unless something glaringly terrible is going on.
Yeah.
So with the acting specifically. Technical elements, last but not least. How do we feel about the way the hotel looked, the location of the town they were in, what they were wearing, all the technical components that go into making the film feel and look the way that it does?
One thing that I noticed, and it goes back to the subtle stuff, there was a lot of, because it's an older hotel, but obviously for it to function as a hotel in the modern day, there had to be some things added to it. Like there's telephones that you can see and there's TVs and stuff, but they're not new. They're not new things. It's like an old phone It's like old CRT TVs
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and they've got the actual bell rather than something that's,
Yeah.
I don't know, like more modern. It looks like it looks older, but like it was intentionally done. Like they, I don't know, like they went to a thrift shop to put stuff in this hotel because, hey, this is stuff that we need in order for this hotel to function, and it doesn't already exist here.
Right. Yeah. So it all kind of fit together
Yeah.
the way it was supposed to. Did you feel like there was anything wrong with any of the technical elements? Anything glaringly bad pop out to you?
I didn't notice anything.
No, neither. I think it's like we said, Ty West. Technical elements and the direction and production of his films will probably always be pretty high. He seems to know what he's
Yeah.
doing. So if there's ever something lacking in his films, it's always going to be a story element thing.
Yeah, and it's the same type of thing with the attention to detail as like with House of the Devil.
Yeah.
That there were all these minor things, like everything looked like it was supposed to in the Coke cups and in the pizza shop
Yeah.
where they were at in House of the Devil. There were all of those kind of minor things. Like whenever she went over to the coffee shop, it's pretty much there's nobody there. It's just her and the coffee shop girl, and it looks like something you'd see around here, I guess. Just a tiny little coffee shop, and they've got their
Yeah.
pastries and that kind of stuff there.
Kind of that, kind of that.
It's like a rural area.
Yeah, the New Englandy kind of small town business going on, which is another archetype, that immediately is just like a setting feature of the film.
Yeah. So it definitely it fit with the place that they look like they were at, fit with some place you would expect to see that kind of hotel still existing.
Yeah, I agree. So technical elements, 1 out of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Final thoughts. The Innkeepers, Ty West. Our second review of a Ty West film, and I'm sure we'll go through all of them because this he's an up and comer. But I liked Innkeepers. I felt like overall it chose to do something specific. That thing was very simple, but it did do it, which a lot of horror films, they don't even get that far. They don't even accomplish what they want to. So
yeah,
he did it.
He's very good at picking his archetype, I guess, for the type of movie that he's doing, because he did like the haunted house cultist type of thing with House of the Devil, and this is a big haunted hotel, and they're both of those are kind of cliche things, but he picks what he wants to do, that old style archetype, and he picks that and he sticks with it and he does it well.
I agree. So you deserved your high B,
8.5.
8.5. So good work. Looking forward to seeing more stuff from good old Ty West.